So what really keeps our global financial systems secure these days, especially with, digital threats seemingly everywhere? Today, we're going to take a deep dive into how one major financial hub is tackling this head on. We're talking about the Abu Dhabi Global Markets Financial Services Regulatory Authority, the FSRA. They've just issued a new cyber risk management framework, and our mission here is to cut through all the dense rules and announcements. We want to pull out the crucial insights for you, giving you a shortcut to understanding what these big changes mean for financial services and, yeah, ultimately for you too.
And it's worth remembering, Abu Dhabi is a really significant player on the global stage. It's a premier international financial destination, known for its top-notch infrastructure, global connections. And the ADGM itself, well, it operates as this financial center focused squarely on transparency, efficiency, integrity. So this new framework, it's not just ticking a box. It's a really significant step in reinforcing that foundation they've built, making it stronger against modern risks.
Okay, let's unpack this then. The big news is these significant amendments the FSRA has implemented, they affect what they call authorized persons and recognized bodies, essentially, the financial firms operating within ADGM.
Yeah, and what's really interesting, I think, is how they're doing it. These amendments, they directly tackle cyber risk management, but they integrate it into the existing risk frameworks. It's not just bolted on. It's about weaving cybersecurity into the very fabric of how these places operate, how they manage risk overall. Compliance kicks in from January 31st, 2026.
Right, so it becomes part of the DNA, not just an IT issue.
Exactly. It forces that strategic mindset shift. It's everyone's responsibility now, right up to the top.
And this didn't just appear out of the blue, did it? I saw the sources mentioned quite a bit of industry engagement.
Oh, absolutely. This wasn't done in a vacuum. The FSRA talked extensively with the industry, and the feedback was positive. People supported these changes, saw them as a, quote, natural evolution in a really dynamic risk area. Cyber changes so fast. And based on that feedback, they actually tweaked things. They added a 6-month transition period, which is helpful. They also clarified principles like proportionality, meaning the rules aren't one size fits all.
Oh, okay, so it scales depending on the institution's size and complexity.
Precisely. And they adapted requirements for IT service providers, updated guidance on assessing what counts as a material cyber incident. They clearly listened.
So looking at the big picture, what's the message here for the ADGM financial sector?
Well, the CEO of the FSRA, Emmanuel Givanakis, put it pretty clearly. He said these changes show their ongoing commitment to operational resilience and cybersecurity. The goal is to safeguard the integrity of the financial services industry in ADGM and position it as a leading jurisdiction for secure and forward-looking financial activity.
Okay, so aiming high. Let's dig into the specifics then. The General Rulebook, or GEN, that's where the main action is, right? Rule 3.5, the Cyber Risk Management Framework.
That's the core of it, yes.
Hmm.
GEN 3.5 lays out this new framework. Essentially, these authorized persons, these firms, they now have to establish and maintain a really comprehensive system. It's for identifying, assessing, and managing their cyber risks effectively.
Establish and maintain, so it's ongoing, not a one-off.
Exactly. It has to be in writing, it needs approval from the top of the governing body, and, crucially, it must be proportionate to their specific business, their complexity, their level of cyber risk, and it has to clearly define who is responsible for what. Roles and responsibilities are key.
And you mentioned integration earlier. It's not just a separate cyber document.
No, that's a critical point. It must be integrated into their overall risk management framework, not siloed.
Okay. So what are the main building blocks? What are the core components of this framework?
It's built on 4 key pillars. Each one has specific requirements. The first one is identification and assessment of cyber risk.
Right. So step 1 is basically knowing what you've got and what the risks are, knowing what you need to protect.
Exactly. You can't protect what you don't know about. So firms have to identify and keep a current inventory of all their ICT assets.
ICT assets. What does that cover?
Oh, pretty much everything digital.
Mhm.
Data, devices, servers, application software, hardware, networks, the works.
Yeah.
And then they need to classify these assets. How confidential is the data? How critical is this system to keeping the business running? Once they have that inventory and classification, they have to assess the cyber risk associated with those assets regularly, at least once a year.
Assess the risk. So looking for threats.
Yes, identifying threats, things like cybercrime, malware, phishing, you name it. Then assessing how well their current controls are working against those threats. And finally, analyzing the potential impact. What happens if the system goes down? What are the consequences for the business?
Okay, that makes sense. Know yourself, know your enemy. What's pillar 2?
Pillar 2 is protection of ICT assets against cyber incidents.
Ah, okay. So this is where we get into the actual defenses, the practical stuff.
This is the shield wall, exactly. It covers a whole range of essential controls. Things like keeping anti-malware software up to date, making sure it's running everywhere. Regular updates are mandated. They also need strong network security controls, firewalls, obviously, but also intrusion detection and prevention systems, plus ongoing network security monitoring.
What about controlling who gets access to what? That seems critical.
Absolutely vital. That's access management. The framework requires proper management of access rights and permissions. And here's the key phrase. Users should only be granted the minimum access or permissions needed to perform that user's tasks or functions.
The principle of least privilege.
Exactly that. And access has to be revoked immediately when someone leaves or changes roles or the conditions aren't met anymore. Plus, regular reviews of who has access to what. Other protections. Strong authentication. Multi-factor authentication, MFA, is specifically called out for internet access systems and for privileged access like admin accounts.
Makes sense. What else?
Encryption for communication. Protecting data when it's moving.
And what about when things change? New systems, software updates, new threats popping up.
Good question. They need a solid change management process, one that explicitly considers cyber risk before changes are made. Changes need to be tested, approved. There's also a process for managing software updates and patching vulnerabilities, prioritizing the critical ones quickly. The rules also talk about encryption for information at rest stored data, and even at the end of its life based on sensitivity.
Right, securing it throughout its life cycle.
Yep. And don't forget physical security, limiting who can physically get into data centers or server rooms, only people with a legitimate need. And finally, a really crucial piece, training. A comprehensive cyber risk training and awareness program for all relevant employees,
Annually, you said.
at least annually.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to understand their role in keeping the place secure. It's not just the IT team's job.
Okay, so identify, protect. What's pillar 3?
Pillar 3 is monitoring and testing.
Right. It's one thing to build the defenses, but you need to know if they actually work, especially against new tactics.
Absolutely. So the framework demands continuous monitoring. Are the systems and controls actually effective day to day? And there must be a comprehensive testing program, testing the resilience of IT systems, networks, the controls they put in place.
How often?
For internet-facing systems, that testing needs to happen at least annually. And they encourage different methods, vulnerability assessments, penetration tests.
Pen tests, like
Yeah.
ethical hacking.
Exactly. Hiring experts to try and break in, find the weak spots, even red team exercises, which are more like full-blown simulated attacks. The point is to proactively identify weaknesses. And importantly, they need a process to prioritize and fix any problems found during testing.
Okay, that's thorough. So what's the final pillar?
The fourth pillar is detection, response, and recovery.
Because inevitably, sometimes things will get through, right? No defense is perfect.
Precisely. So you need to be ready for when an incident does happen. This pillar is about that readiness. Firms need to continuously monitor their systems and networks, specifically to detect cyber incidents or anomalies, anything unusual. They need a clear process for escalating potential or actual incidents quickly. Speed matters here.
And a plan for what to do.
Yes, critically, they must establish and maintain a robust cyber incident response plan. Think of it as the emergency playbook. It outlines the steps to respond, limit the damage, and recover, including getting systems back online quickly and safely.
And they need to test this plan too.
Regularly, to make sure it actually works under pressure. It also needs review at least annually or definitely after any real incident. If something happens, the process involves investigating what happened, how bad it is, containing it immediately,
Yeah.
and then recovering responsibly, which means, cleaning up the mess, restoring systems and data, figuring out how the attackers got in, fixing that vulnerability, and communicating appropriately.
Communication.
Yeah.
Internally and externally.
Both, depending on the incident, obviously.
Okay, so those are the 4 pillars. But you mentioned earlier, this isn't just in the general rule book. This cyber focus ripples outwards.
That's right. It's not just DEN 3.5. They've woven this thinking into other rule books, too. For instance, the rule books for captive insurance businesses and other insurers. They now explicitly list cyber risk as something insurers must identify and manage within their operational risk framework.
Ah, so it's named specifically.
Yes. And the rule book for investment, insurance intermediation, and banking, the PRU, that reinforces the need for appropriate IT systems and strong information security controls. It's becoming embedded across the board.
And what about payment service providers? They're often prime targets.
Yep, they're covered too. The Conduct of Business Rulebook, COBS, has specific requirements for payment service providers and also third-party providers. They need their own frameworks for operational and security risks, effective incident management procedures, and annual risk assessments. It shows this consistent approach.
Consistency seems key. Now, one really critical part of incident response is reporting it. What are the rules there?
Very strict rules here. Authorized persons have to notify the regulator, the FSRA, immediately.
Immediately.
Immediately. And the absolute deadline is no later than 24 hours after they become aware or reasonably suspect that a material cyber incident has happened.
Okay, 24 hours. That's fast. And that applies across the board.
Yes, it's also explicitly stated for recognized bodies in the Market Infrastructure Rulebook.
Yeah.
Fast reporting is non-negotiable.
So what counts as material? That seems like a potentially gray area.
They've tried to make it pretty clear. The guidance gives examples. An incident is material if it, say, seriously affects customer information or poses a real risk to client assets, or if it has a severe impact on their operations, materially impacts providing services, could lead to significant financial loss.
Reputational damage, too.
Yes, material reputational impact is on the list, as is unauthorized intrusion into critical IT systems. And besides telling the FSRA, they're also expected to consider reporting to other authorities, law enforcement, maybe the ADGM Data Protection Commissioner.
Right, depending on what happened. Now, what about outsourcing? So many firms rely on third-party providers for IT services.
Ah, yes, third-party cyber risk. The framework is very clear on this. The authorized person, the financial institution itself, remains fully responsible for compliance, even if they use a third party.
So you can't outsource the responsibility.
Exactly. You can outsource the service, but not the accountability. They need to do proper due diligence on their vendors. They need solid contracts in place, requiring the third party to notify them about incidents, cooperate in fixing things, and importantly, allow the institution to verify their security standards.
That puts the onus squarely back on the regulated firm.
It does. It's a strong message about managing your supply chain risk.
And ultimately, who's accountable within the firm? Where does the buck stop?
It stops at the top. That's the governance piece. The governing body, the board, and senior management are ultimately responsible. They have to ensure this cyber risk management framework is not just documented, but actually implemented and effective. Their jobs include defining the firm's appetite for cyber risk, ensuring they have people with the right expertise. The regulator expects the governing body to genuinely understand the cyber risks the firm faces and stay updated on global trends. It's a board-level responsibility.
Wow. Okay, so this deep dive really shows the ADGM isn't just tinkering around the edges. They're taking a very comprehensive, integrated approach to cyber resilience.
Yeah, it's definitely a proactive stance, moving beyond basic compliance towards something much more embedded and forward-looking.
It reflects a serious commitment to operational resilience, to safeguarding the integrity of their financial sector.
Absolutely. And it contributes to global best practices, too. Other jurisdictions will be watching this.
So, wrapping this up, what does this all mean for you listening? Well, it means that behind the curtain, there are some really significant, quite sophisticated efforts underway to protect the stability and security of financial institutions. The ones you might bank with, invest through, rely on. It's about reinforcing trust in this increasingly digital financial world.
Which does leave us with a final thought, doesn't it? As these digital threats inevitably keep evolving, getting smarter faster, how will regulations like this keep pace? How can frameworks around the world adapt even further, maybe even get ahead of the curve, to ensure that financial stability we all depend on? Something to think about.